What is Occam for people that have never heard of Occam before?
Yeah, sure. So Occam is it's a lot of different things really. So it's we call it a DeFi, like full stack DeFi ecosystem. But really what we do is we have launchpad capabilities. We're building out our DEX capabilities, which we'll talk to a little bit later, and you can see the logo behind me there. And we also have the accelerator program, which is an incubator for Cardano projects. So probably the one like vertical or component that most people may already be familiar with is Occam Razor. This is a decentralized launchpad. So decentralized launchpads launch projects that are building on multiple blockchains, but for us the focus is specifically Cardano. So we take early stage Cardano startups and projects. And we help them through that initial phase where they're raising funds and looking to launch a token. I mean, we did implement originally on Ethereum, so our smart contracts are Solidity based. So the majority of tokens that we've launched to date have been ERC20, but we're really proud to say that starting with Ardana, which was one of, I think, the most hotly anticipated projects on Cardano to date, we can now do and issue tokens in Cardano native tokens. So we're getting
That's
closer and
awesome.
closer to building out like this launchpad capability tailor-made for the Cardano ecosystem.
So with Ardana, could people actually use Occam's site, to participate in the IDO with Eta?
So unfortunately, we still had to have that component of it in Ethereum. We are building out at the moment. We're building out the Plutus smart contracts to allow us and to allow our users to contribute ADA. So our Plutus developers are in the Plutus Pioneer program. These components are already being built. But they could contribute ETH, but then they would get their tokens distributed to them as Cardano native
Oh, so in their
tokens.
Cardano address. Okay, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so they
So
link their Cardano address to it, and it's the first time that an IDO did this in the Cardano space. Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you guys are making that transition, and smart contracts were just launched recently, so it does make sense that you guys are just using Solidity and the tools that were already out there, to raise those funds, and then now you're transitioning over to Cardano. So, let's say that time comes, your Plutus pioneers are killing it. They know all the Plutus they need, and you can build out this full site. Are you guys still going to have, an Ethereum launch pad over there? Or are you going to be full Cardano in the future? Are you going to have both?
So, as some of the viewers might know, we have the Ethereum to Cardano bridge. So, part of our mandate since we launched, and we're backed by official Cardano entities. But what we really want to do is bring value from the Ethereum blockchain and move it over to Cardano and facilitate that process. So that was part of the reason we launched the bridge. We probably will have the option to contribute to IDOs with ETH in the future, but we think it's great, that people can contribute in ETH. That turns into Cardano native tokens, and then that's locked within the Cardano ecosystem. So effectively, we're going to serve as like a bridge to take Ethereum and give it to new projects building on Cardano, and then it's part of the Cardano ecosystem rather than the Ethereum ecosystem. So we probably will leave that dual functionality open for a while. But we do want to be, and we always have been since we launched, like a dedicated Cardano launchpad. So we are going to have all of our components available on Cardano as well. And also, it's an absolute, like 100% you have to be building for Cardano to launch a project with us. We've just reiterated our stance on due diligence around the projects that we bring. And if they can't show that they have adequate components or adequate provision in their roadmap to build for Cardano, they don't make it to our launchpad. So that's something we feel really strongly about, and it's something that we're going to focus on even more in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I just personally would prefer to use a DEX, or not a DEX, but a launchpad on Cardano because of those TX fees. I mean, I still use Ethereum for stable coins, USDC. We're waiting for all of this to be built out on Cardano. And, I withdrew from an exchange the other day and it cost me like $180. And it's just the cringe, man. The cringe,
Yeah.
you know.
It's painful, and we don't like to pass these costs on to our users. It's one of the biggest not criticisms, but comments that we have at the moment is the gas fees are really significant, especially if you only want to buy a small portion of IDO tokens from a pool. You know, sometimes the fees can be as much as you actually want to contribute.
Yeah. So you
And we're
really have
looking
to have
and
a certain amount of money for it to even, be worth it because of the TX fees.
yeah, and we're exploring all different ways to reduce these TX fees and reduce the reliance on Ethereum, reduce the reliance on gas. One of those in the short term before we roll out the smart contracts on Cardano, maybe exploring other blockchains that implement in Solidity, such as Binance Smart Chain or something like that, just so that we can minimize these costs for our users and then help issue Cardano native tokens, which is obviously super cost effective because the transaction fees are so low.
Yeah. So what are some of the projects using the Occam launchpad that you're most excited about? You mentioned Ardana. Are there any others?
Yeah, sure. So we recently had our Dana, and that was our biggest IDO to date. So I think we had around 2,000 participants. It was absolutely crazy. It sold out really quick, and we're super excited to see what they build in the coming months. And a project that we just announced today as well is NewNet. So they're a project sponsored and built by the team over at Singularity Net, who obviously work really closely with IOHK. And they're a decentralized computing infrastructure project. So they're going to make computing power available, via the blockchain and via AI to use in a decentralized manner. So say you've got some spare computing power that you don't have any use for, you can potentially monetize that through NewNet and share those resources out via, the Cardano blockchain. One of their advisors is Ben Goertzel. All the rest of the team over at Singularity Net, they're like advisors, so it's a really all-star team, and they're going to be launching as an Occam Razor IDO on the 25th of November. So we're really, really excited for them. We've also got Ycrypt towards the end of the month, and we've got Centurify as well, which is an NFT ticketing project. They were unveiled at the Cardano Summit in Norway, and they're going to bring like NFT ticketing options onto the blockchain so that you've got programmability and like event tickets. And they've got some really cool guys behind them, including like big music artists and this sort of stuff. So we're excited to bring them as well. They're on the 16th. So yeah, we've got quite a few IDOs coming up, and plenty more to announce for the rest of this month.
That's awesome to hear an update on NewNet. Ben Gortzel actually mentioned it on the podcast that I had with him, and my first thought was about Stakepool operators and how you can essentially run like a decentralized relay node or a decentralized stake pool. Of course, one person's still controlling it, but the computing hardware could be distributed. Which is a very cool idea and a very cool project. I'm not sure what latency or other technical barriers there are for running a stake pool there, but it's definitely something I'm excited about. So can you explain the Eta Bridge a little bit more? What tokens can you bring over, and how does that process really work?
Sure, yeah. So the F2ada Bridge is something that we developed pretty early on in our like history, I guess. So we basically made it because we wanted to give Cardano enthusiasts a way to hold our token as a Cardano native token if they chose to. So it was one of our early commitments to showing that we actually were seriously building for the Cardano ecosystem. So we issued a counterpart amount of OCC tokens as Cardano native tokens. And when you use the bridge to send your Ethereum-based tokens over to Cardano, it locks up that amount of Ethereum tokens and issues them as Cardano native tokens. So the circulating supply of our OCC token always stays the same, but you can hold those tokens in OCC ADA. So eventually they're going to be like the only token that's used within our ecosystem once we launch our components on Cardano. At the moment, obviously, we don't have the smart contracts there in order for those tokens to be useful. But what they can be used for is generating rewards for our upcoming DEX token, which is only going to be issued as a Cardano native token. We're looking at expanding that functionality to other projects that launch to us. So like we mentioned, Ardana just launched and distributed a Cardano native token. They already had that sorted out because they've been, like a Cardano based project since day one. But say there's a project which is perhaps they want to launch like a multi-chain launch or something like this. We hope that we can use the bridge to give them that option and give them that functionality of launching both an Ethereum token and a Cardano native token at the same time. So again, it's just part of our mandate of bringing value into the Cardano ecosystem. Even if projects haven't necessarily thought about building on Cardano, we offer them an easy way that they can issue assets on Cardano and make that, once DEX is alive, any DEX, make that tradable within the Cardano ecosystem.
So currently, Occam is really the only token you can bring over using the bridge.
Yeah, at the moment it's OCC. We also have I think ADA to F you can swap on there as well. But
So
it's
you
going to
can
be a
bring
lot
ADA
more
over to
useful.
ETH.
We have a wrapped
That's interesting.
we have like a wrapped ADA version, so you can like use some liquidity mining protocols on Ethereum using ADA.
Mm.
So you can go vice versa if you want. You can go both ways. But this will have a lot more functionality once our DEX components are rolled out, and it'll be a lot more obvious like what it's actually useful for, which is easily swapping and increasing interoperability between the two blockchains.
That makes me think of what Charles Hoskinson said in the Island, the Ocean, and the Pond. He said for the masochists out there, that want to use their ADA with Solidity. But no, that is awesome to hear that you can actually, use what you guys are offering to bring ADA over to ETH and back and forth, because I haven't heard of many other projects doing that. And it's also really nice, to be able to have OCC in your own wallet on the Cardano blockchain, because if I want to, get SDAO or other tokens that are on Ethereum that'll eventually come, I still have to keep them in my ETH wallet.
Mhm.
So it's awesome to hear that you guys have essentially solved that.
Yeah, you could have OCC as a Cardano native token in your Daedalus, Yoroi, like card wallet right now. So yeah, there's no limit. Like you can hold as much of it as you want. And we are really, really pushing to bring those components that are going to make that useful. So now smart contracts are here. We're like all hands on deck building out those Plutus smart contracts to enable our DEX and Occam Razor. Yeah.